Okay, so I'm supposed to keep you alive for another half hour. I'm sorry for this, guy. It's really late. I know you have had your plate absolutely full during this day. So I want so much to tell you about liminality, but trying to explore with you what kind of space, liminal space, we are just in right now, okay? I'm trying to get some more help here. Okay. We're entering. Okay, sorry for that. Okay, so first of all, like in everything, like in any crisis, and especially Asian people know this, we have opportunity and we have some dark sides. Okay, let me begin with the dark side of this liminal space we are right in now. I will begin by the broad context, what we used to call in French or even in English, the big picture. The big picture is that we are right now in an era of great transition. You all know this. But the point is that let's go further to try to understand what is a transition. And for this, I suggest to bring you in a kind of travel, time travel. And let's go back to some 300,000 years before now. At that time, we were just hunter-gatherers, gathering food, hunting, okay, just trying to survive like any other animals. And then, for some unknown reason, we became a little bit more swift, capable to do things. And we began to craft stone, then to craft pottery. Then we have been able to raise animals, to become shepherd. And then we harvest crops. And then it was done with our nomadic aspect of our lives. We stopped to be nomadic, and we had to just to stop our journey just because we had so many goods, because we were creating goods, we were trading goods, and at a certain point, we had to store them, store our grain, store our animals. So we stopped. And for a while, we crossed one of our first great transition, which was sedentarization. Now, let's go fast forward until now. Now, if you look at back, what you are seeing is just behind us some 6,000 years of building this Anthropocenic world we are living in, the so-called Anthropocene. The Anthropocene is about the fact that we have been able to tame the nature and to artificialize it, to develop engineering, industrialization, so many things that do not exist in the natural processes. And now we are with this world, which is not obviously working very well. And we are considering to dematerialize it, which is interesting. Just like a Kleenex, we just get rid of it. Okay. Obviously, there is a new great transition and the progress. The thing is, what will be next beyond this liminality we are currently crossing? Next, of course, as any good futurist, we do not have a clue about it. We do not know. We can just make assumptions. We could be masters, mastering exponentiality, mastering nature, being able to dominate the planet with our machines. Okay, fine, it could be that. We also could be sharers. working on a vision of reconciliation with nature, with ourselves maybe, as a species, and living in a more sustainable world? Why not? We could do that. And we could be nothing of that. Something that you and me are just unable today to imagine. Because this is what the future is. A place where nothing is engraved. So now, there is only one thing we know for sure. All of us here in this place right now, is that this world to come won't be what it used to be. For a very simple reason, is that the current world is no longer sustainable. We know for sure that everything is continuing like it is right now, based on data, evidence. We know that at a certain point, when the ocean will be totally poisoned, it will just be impossible to live on Earth. That's it. It's very simple. There is nothing to think about or to be clever about. It's just very simple scientific evidence. That's it. So the thing is, okay, and what in between? Between this current world and the new one we don't know about. Okay, between it will be worse. Sorry to say so. I told you it was a dark side of liminality. Yes, it will be dark and even darker because what? Because we are entering the era of VUCA squared. The first VUCA, you all heard about it. Okay, the mechanism behind VUCA, because everybody talk about VUCA, but usually we do not know the dynamics behind it. The dynamic is very, very simple. It's what we used to call a subduction process. This is what we have in geology, you know, when you have two tectonic plates entering in conflict and one will be subducted, so will dive under the other one. Okay, now let's use this metaphor. You know that we like metaphor in foresight. Let's use this metaphor and try to understand what's behind. Behind there is a world, you know, the famous Anthropocene I told you about, a world built all along the last 6 millennia. And in this world, we had incredible drivers of progress. And at a certain point, these drivers of progress drive us to dysfunction. And the dysfunction, you know them, name them, pollution, depletion, whatsoever, bureaucracy even, I think it's a good one. But at the end of this, what we are seeing right now is an obsolescence of our concepts, paradigm, ideas, words to describe the reality, and products and processes. In front of us, we have, let's say, a world trying to emerge. It emerged from our decision-making, of course, and our decision-making is fueled by our dreams and desire, the hidden part of our decision-making. And of course, when you have a change coming, you have reaction to change. But first, let's look at some drivers, the destructive drivers of the world to come. And let's say there are at least 4 of them that we have to keep in mind. The first one is what we call the alien generation. Those who used to listen to me, they know about it, and I continue to tell it. If you were born in the end of the 80s, you are part of the alien generation. But not only you, because alien generation is like a virus. It can contaminate you. So even if you are over 60, take care, you could be an alien generation. So alien generation is about access versus property. It is about being natively digital versus being painfully digital. It is about collaboration versus competition. It's clear that our world is not really fit for this kind of people, and they feel it very deeply. Well, second point, it is about automation. No need to talk about this. You know this by heart, but clearly there will be an issue when it will come to our job income and whatsoever about automation. But it's for the future, let's say. The third driver is about what I call globality. Globality is the stage after globalization. Globalization, you know, this is the process of the human species colonizing, if I can say so, the totality of the planet. Okay. In the globality, we have now the planet is the scale, and we have a huge global middle class, and we have also global disasters regarding the planet. Last but not least, technology, and especially genetic technology, when it can change the human being itself with our genomes, all this kind of thing. And this is really something disruptive, because what will we be in the next 2 centuries once we will have modified our genes? Are we still human? Are we something different? What? Okay. You understand the idea. We have this huge movement between the world which is dying, the new one which is coming, the struggle between them, and from the struggle comes what? Resistance to change, of course. Let's say volcano, tsunami, you name it. And you might recognize in the words behind me some understanding of what's happening today in the world. Not that far away sometimes. It's about radicalization. It's about violence. It's about ultranationalism. It's about binarism. You name it. You know all this. But we can understand why it's happening and why it will happen more and more. More those 2 tectonic plates will struggle together. We exert the pressure one over the other. We will have more and more of this resistance to change. So this explains why we have been during the last 30 years in the VUCA world, which is a volatile, ambiguous, complex, and uncertain world, and a world of crisis. You know the expression, the rogue waves. So it is there's rogue waves that we are riding now. You can call them climate change, debt, shortage of resources. You know them. So until there, okay, we are in for some decades, so it's fine. Now the question is tomorrow, and not that far tomorrow, just the after pandemics. After the COVID, we suddenly realized that we were no longer in a VUCA, just a VUCA world, but a VUCA square world. What does it mean? It means that the V now is for vulnerability, because we understood that the planet is vulnerable. Our systems are vulnerable. And now we are becoming aware that our species itself, as a species, is becoming vulnerable. We are talking about existential risks. The uncertainty, even greater than before, and it's not showing any end. Criticality. We have seen during the pandemic that most of our infrastructures are deeply critical. Our way of processing are critical. Most of what is making the fabric itself of our development are in a critical situation, not to talk about the planetary boundaries, as you know. And finally, artificiality. People seeing animals coming back to city. Well, it has been really something. It has been an image. And it has been an image that many people were very sensitive to. We can understand now how artificial is our world. And maybe it is not only artificial from the point of view of the planet, but from the point of view of our relationship. Who now take really the time to look at someone in the eyes and to have a deep talk behind the norms, behind the convenance, behind the light, easy talking. Superficiality instead of artificiality would be good as well. So again, this VK square world make us sick, but not only sick like in the previous one, but twice sick. Why? First, because we do not like to change. And this time we understand that we have absolutely to change and quite quickly. But the second reason for being sick is that when you don't change, when change is necessary, then you become even more sick, which is really what is happening with eco-anxiety. Yes, eco-anxiety, okay, eco-anxiety. And all those people showing some mental disorders that are not genetics, but they are really coming from the stress of the situation of understanding where they are now. So, and this will be an echo to what my colleagues will present tomorrow, I guess. Now the point is, longer we delay the decision to change, and harder the fall will be. So it's really critical, and it's really a matter of urgency. But, okay, we are optimistic because we are futurist. So we have what we call here optimism methodologic, which would be some methodological optimism by nature, because if we do not do this, we won't survive as human beings. So, okay, let's go now to see the sunny side of liminality, because there are good news also. And especially I have 3 good news. The first one is that our species is evolving. This is a good news, isn't it? We are evolving. What does it mean? It means that we are seeing right now, we are witnessing a real change of mindset. Not something like fashion, something like that, something deep, something really embedded within the soul of people. To make the short story of human being even shorter, let's say that we have, I mean, the human being has always evolved along 2 main lines. The first line is that he is a social being. Social means that we have to cope with others, that we want it or not, we cannot live alone. And the second thing is that we are also thinking animals, which means that we are aware of the fact that we are a person, which is even more than just being an individual. And doing so, we have to try to learn to understand what does it mean to be an individual, which of course include ethics. Ethics beyond the norm of the society. Ethics for yourself, not only for the group. So we can see that this is evolving right now. And this evolution is driving us, is converging, you know. We are more and more freeing ourselves of the bonds of the society, for the good or the bad, it's not the point. And we are becoming more and more a person as a reflexive individual, able to take decisions for himself, herself, as a real person of its own, autonomous. And those 2 trends are converging with the current situation of the social trends. What you have right now is a major part of people are what we call liquid people. Liquid people are people that are being stopped to, or they don't accept anymore to be put in a box. Not to be taken off this box and put in another box, but to move freely from one box to another and finally having no box at all, which is something complicated because each time you want to describe someone and try to do it, unfortunately, I do not have time, but try to do it, you will say, It's a man, it's a woman. It's an age one, it's a young one. It's a blonde one, it's a dark one, whatsoever. But we constantly put people into boxes. And we have no word just to describe people without using boxes. That's the point. So there is something really interesting happening with us liquid people. Of course, you have a large number of the population which are just followers. They follow the trend. They do not think really about it, but they conform to the society, which is the role of the society. Fine. And then you have at the other spectrum, the other end of the spectrum, you have the need. You know them, no education, no teaching, no job. There's people who just refuse to enter into society, who want to live outside of the society, to say so. And you have the rebels, the creationists, okay, whatsoever. The most interesting part is not what is left behind, because this is a normal way of any kind of civilization. And when a civilization evolves, some people are left behind and some are following. The most interesting part is a sparrow head. And in the sparrow head, you have again our alien generations. Means for most of you, your children, welcome. And your children, they don't care about you. They don't care about the world. They are living behind themselves. This is tough. This is hard. Sorry for saying so. I love my son, but my son is an alien generation and he doesn't care, like most of his friends. But he cares about the planet. He cares about the same as himself. He cares about his communities. It's just that for us, we are already dinosaurs. And in front of us, we have death. And we have just inability to change. An inability that we have demonstrated. They are now reproaching us, as you know, to have driven the planet to the state where it is right now and be unable to make the right politics to change this. Fair enough. But it's interesting because they are the next creative minorities that were described by the great historian Joseph Arnold Toynbee 1 century ago. And the creative minority are really interesting because they are the ones that in each change of civilization, each of them, I really advise you to read Toynbee. It's just wonderful. It's long, but wonderful, because it can demonstrate this everywhere. Each time you have a civilization that is collapsing, you have creative minorities appearing, either coming from abroad, barbarian, you know, or coming from inside the society, the leftover, usually, but they will change this civilization, for sure, for the good of bad. Again, this is not the question. The question is change. So this alien generation, which is a generation totally uninhibited, they are uninhibited, gender-free, intuitive, they cannot demonstrate why they want to reach this point, but they know they want to reach it and how they will reach it. I mean, they are about to really be one of our most biggest and most impactful driver of change. So the next good news is that even beyond this generation, we can witness a change of value. You know, during the 80s, 90s, and so on, I mean, the value was wealth and it was show off. As soon as you were making an appearance as a TV, you were becoming someone, independently of your level of smartness, of your humanity, of your whatsoever, but it was a value. Show off. Now, we have a generation of people who do not care about wealth or show off, but they care about real values, align with their self, which is the most important. There is a real research for personal alignment with care, humanity, with truth, with fairness, all those things. So I think this is a very interesting disruption that is happening here. And finally, last but not least, some people are finding new ways to solve this constant tension and an opposite tension between security, because we are all looking for security, being safe, not only not only safe physically, but safe mentally as well, and freedom. We want freedom. We want to be free. We want to be able to say what we want to say, and without the normal society or without being judged or whatsoever. And as you know, there is constantly a tension. When we are looking for freedom, we are no longer safe. If you want to be safe, it will be without freedom. So it's complicated. And now you have this new community based on affinity. Affinity is the fact that you and me are alike. We don't speak the same language. You are not from the same country whatsoever, but there is something between us. Long time ago, this special link was called by a very famous Arabic historian called Ibn Khaldun. It was called Asabiya. Asabiya was, we would translate it as kinship. It is not kin at the level of the species. It is kin at the level of the recognition of a link between two persons, which is not about love, which is not about emotion whatsoever, but the deep feeling that you and me are human beings living or experiencing the same relation to the world and the same struggling for life as well. So affinity is the name of it. I mean, recognizing that we have affinity, and even if we do not have the same competencies or the same skill or the same opinion on something or another, but we have enough affinity together to be able to work together, to be able to build something together, which means that in this communities based on affinity, you can be free because you know that nobody inside will never put you in danger, because this is the key of affinity. So enough with human beings. Let's move to technology. It will be short because you know all of this. It's just to put you in the big picture. We are all talking about artificial intelligence as our next enemy. Let's, okay, whatsoever. I won't go in that. My only question is, what are the conditions to elaborate a new arch of alliance between artificial intelligence, which is first artificial and second intelligence, and our organic biologic intelligence? I would like just to remind you something very, very basic. Our intelligence is not at all the incredibly mechanisms that we want to think of. Our intelligence is very much depending of our goods. If you ate something that is changing your biology or your digestion or whatsoever, I mean, you feel bad and you will think about something in a different mode or way than if you are feeling good. A machine cannot do this. A machine is based, right now, it's based on silicium. And it is not organic, it is not biologic. So how can we compare two substrates that are so different? They cannot produce the same thing, but they can help us because we are able to modelize our competencies, and so we can teach them these competencies. So now the question is, and this is again a question of liminality, when will we be ready to, to leave our competencies outside our scope, outside education, and concentrate of what make us human beings, which is our aptitudes, not at all our consequences, because our aptitudes, we cannot modelize them. We cannot teach them to machine. We cannot be competitive in this way. And this is our real value added. And so we don't have to be afraid of them. We don't have to be in competition with them. We just don't have to understand the place of each of us as a species, if I can say so, their intelligence, our intelligence, and how we can combine them. And they can help us so much. I mean, it's just phenomenal, the realm of possibilities that these machines are offering. Now, the last driver, which is the good news, is that there is already a system transformation at work. And really, this is a good news. As trained as a sociologist before being a futurist, I used to make several investigations around the world when I work for clients and so on. I make investigation, and one of my investigation is to spot innovation and experiences and so on. And what I'm seeing in the world, what I've been seeing in the world since almost a decade, is that you have so many experiences happening in the world in all the continents of new ways of doing things, developing business, developing new approaches, whatsoever. I try to make some categories because still we are categorizing things. And what I've seen is a model based on 5 pillars. The 2 first pillars are goals, being nature-centric and being human-centric, but the 2 together, not one or the other, 2 together. The third one is the recognition that exponentiality is the reality of our world. That we like it or not, that's here. We have to do with it. So how can we balance competition, digitalization, raison d'être, the purpose, all this to make the best from this exponentiality? And the fourth main trend shaping the world today is planetization. And planetization is about the fact that now planet is a scale, and we have to find new balance between the world, territories, planet itself, and planet including ocean, of course, cities, and so on. This is the territory part of it. So if we want to do something, taking care of exponentiality and planetization, and at the same time reaching the double goal of being nature-centric and human-centric, then we need governance. Simple enough. And governance, I won't go further here, but okay, devolution of power, justice, ethics, you know all this. I won't go further. The only thing that I would mention, maybe arriving here, is that you can see all around you a lot of events, whatever, marketing also, but talking about being planet positive. Planet positive is what we need all. It's very clear. I don't need to argue about that. But we have to go a step further now. We have to be human positive. Especially in France, I don't know if it is Europe, but at least in France, we are so pessimistic. We can see only the dark side of this liminality. We don't see the good things, and good things are plenty. So we definitely have to take a new, to change the prism of our look, the way we look at things, see the good things and talk about those good things. And we have them, the decentralized technology, instead of having something centralized, like the smart grids, for example, in energy. The fact that front of global problem, we must have global solutions, something quite obvious also, and global anticipation even more. The ecological awareness rising everywhere, so we have to go beyond green. And finally, this global governance that we are trying to elaborate, and we are obviously have some difficulties to make alive and efficient. So In front of us, there is a kind of path, the path you are seeing here. And on this path, what you have first is the abandonment of our classical culture. And this is difficult, and this is hard, and this is turning your everything away, because we have been educated with this culture, but we are at the end of it. And at a certain point, just stop to cling on that and let it go. Second step, even more difficult perhaps from the point of view of our politics, is the end of the Western hegemony. Because this Western hegemony is already done, but just we do not want to recognize it. So now, okay, let's face it. We are no longer the master of the world. Okay, fine. And let's try to understand what the other cultures can teach us and can bring to the evolution of the world. Of course, yeah, but I have half an hour. I'm taking just my half hour. I'm finishing. Yeah, that's it. I begin at 15. And new education. New education is something that we have to begin now, just to be able to put it ready, to have it ready by 20 years from now, because this is what it will take to change completely our system of education. So this is really a task we have to begin now. And well, the world governance is really far at the end. This is most of a dream right now. That's some things that we can do. But clearly about new education, so many countries are ready to do something. I'm thinking especially at Canada, which is very aware of what's happening and the needs they have. So I hope to have walk you along this liminality to give you a taste of what we can do, and just remind that the world is ours and the future is ours. Thank you. Is Jose.
Thank you. When you said that in France, the people are very pessimistic, I find the same in Spain, and also when I go to Italy, actually, sadly, almost all over Europe. So I'm really disappointed. You know, I used to live in the USA. The USA is very optimistic, very technologically oriented, and I go a lot to East Asia. So now, after comparing all the regions, I think that the USA is the present, Asia is the future, and Europe is the past. And I see so much pessimism in Europe. Well, if you see China, and we are going to have sessions about China, China is full of optimism. Even Korea and Japan. Japan has many problems, but it still is generally optimistic. But then Europe, sadly, is so sad, so pessimistic. It makes me cry, you know, because in the USA, it's not this negative mentality.
Okay, but maybe you are talking of our generation, Jose, because if I ask Timothy up there, who is not even 30, I do not think that Timothy is so pessimistic that his parents. Depends on the news. Organic, huh? You're organic, exactly. Thanks. Yeah, I really think that the next generation is much more optimistic than we are. But in the same time, they have eco-anxiety. In the same time, it's more.
And then just like, because I'm conscious of your time and the fact that basically you expected for dinner in an hour. And so obviously this conversation can continue. That's the whole point of the 2 days that we have. So feel free to actually continue that conversation, to sharing some type of housekeeping rules. We'll meet again at 9 tomorrow. We have a gala dinner at 8 tonight, and obviously feel free to stay in the room to continue that conversation. The idea was to share food for thought, and I think there was quite a food for thought. So already you're engaging. So please do continue to do that. But I would just suggest that we actually close the session now so that you can continue the conversation on your own. Thank you so much.
going to talk about the, I think it's a tragedy.